Greetings, peeps of the interwebs. Jake here with a special guest. It's been a while since I last had a guest on here for Comic Conversations. But joining me to this evening, or evening for me, it's like 3 in the afternoon, I think, for you, is Doominati.
Hey guys, Doominati here, and yeah, with the awesome man Irishman Jake.
Oh, I thank you. You're far too kind.
No problem, man. Nah, good to be here. Yeah, good. A little chat about comics and such. Yeah, it'll be nice.
All right, so let's get some of the basic stuff out of the way. So, what first got you into comics, and was it like a comic book movie you saw, a TV show, or was it like you went into a comic book shop and were like, yes, this is for me, or perhaps even a combination of all three?
Yeah. So it was I think I grew up a lot with the Tim Burton Batman films, and that was really big for me. I didn't really get into comics until, funny enough, I found Iron Man 2 in an electronics store. I found it, and I was like, what's this? I had no idea even Iron Man 1 would come out. That's how in the dark it was. And then,
Sorry about that, people. Minor technical difficulties. But as you were saying, Iron Man 2 is kind of your, when you first discovered, the comic book medium outside of the Tim Burton Batman films.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, grew up with that, and then, found Iron Man 2 just lying around and had a DVD store, and I was just like, what's this? And then, checked it out, and I was blown away. They had Mark 5 suit when he chucked it on, when he fought Danko at the car race, the race they had on. Yeah, that was, completely blew me away, and, picked up Iron Man 1, and, I think the Avengers, the first trailer for it was, only a couple of months after I'd seen the first Iron Man, and so...
Oh, wow, so you were, right in time for it.
Yeah, completely amazing. So, that happened, and then, went to Armageddon Expo, which is, a mini Comic-Con for New Zealand, and, saw some Iron Man comics. There were Iron Man Director of S.H.I.E.L.D., that was just post the Civil War comics at the time.
Oh, okay, cool.
And picked those up. I just haven't stopped collecting since, to be honest. Moved on to Doctor Doom as much as I can, which is amazing that he's now Iron Man as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea, because I love Doom. He's my favorite Marvel villain. And in a way, him and Tony Stark are very similar. So I was kind of that actually makes kind of sense that he would somehow become Iron Man. I haven't read any of the comics yet, but I might check that out when because here lately I've been pretty much only reading indie stuff, so I might have to take a break from indie stuff and pick back up with Marvel and DC.
Yeah, it's a funny time at the moment, definitely. With Marvel comics, there's a lot of hate on them right at the moment. With not saying that diversity and stuff's all bad and stuff what they're doing, but it's just you really see it in the comic sales figures and all that. And, I definitely recommend. Doom's still done pretty good. The Infamous Iron Man series, only 12 issues, I think, sadly. The whole thing's been amazing. The artwork as well, the armor looks spectacular. Sometimes the background will be kind of just off, but then you'll have the suit and the cape, or the cloak, would just be focused, and it's just it's amazing. It's blows me back every time. I haven't read any of the Riri Williams or anything, which is a bit of a shame, but I've only been focusing on Doom at the moment.
So would it be safe to say that Iron Man's one of your favorite comic book characters, or is it just kind of a coincidence that just happens to be the character you're kind of reading the most of right now?
I think, I'd say, to start with, there was definitely Tony Stark, but then after a while, actually, because it took me a while to get to actually read Civil War, and after that, I think I've kind of fallen in love with Cap quite a bit. So, he's been really good. I haven't read, when he went to Dimension Z, I haven't read all that. I've just read the old story, so just before he lost his powers, who that guy was. But a few volumes around there I've been reading. Any older comic, I've got some old Ultron comics, and then Cap's all classic Cap from the 70s or 80s.
Oh, cool!
It's really fun to read them. Yeah, like that. So I think. And plus in the movies too, Cap's amazing ever since I think Winter Soldier fully stole him.
Oh my god! Winter Soldier, I think is still the best Marvel movie. Just because, and I think I mentioned in the interview that I did with Nick, one of the curators, But like the fact that they basically took a spy espionage thriller, and basically, because that's more or less what the movie is, and they were just kind of like, oh hey, in Captain America, he just happens to be like the lead actor along with not Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, and Falcon and stuff like that. So you're like, oh wow, yeah, this kind of isn't really much a comic book movie. It just so happens it's spy espionage thriller, just happens to have comic book characters in it. I think that's what made that movie so great. And same thing with like Dark Knight, is it's kind of the same thing where it's like a crime drama that just happens to have like Batman and comic book characters in it. Sorry for the minor technical difficulties here, people, but anyways, hopefully we can keep this thing going without any more issues. But so you're saying that Captain America has kind of become more your favorite? Is he more your favorite Marvel character, or like favorite comic book character as a whole?
Oh, as a whole, that's a good one. That is a good question. Because I've got a little bit of DC, like a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
But Captain America, yeah, he's got to be right up there. Because obviously Batman, is Batman. Like, everyone loves Batman. It's hard to have anyone top Batman. That would be a hard one. Because I just read the Watchmen comic the other day, the full volume, and it's like, wow, that was really amazing. As well, just as another side DC, and I'm trying to think DC. It would, I'd say Cap would be probably my favorite hero, because I haven't probably read enough DC. I've read some. Mm-hmm. I've only got really like New 52 of the DC is the bulk of my knowledge.
That's actually where I started reading DC as well, because I've actually only been reading comics regularly. Let's see, I think I started when I was like 22 or 23. So really only like the past like 4 or 5 years have I actually been like kind of reading regularly. But yeah, New 52 is kind of where I started with DC. And like I've since kind of went back with older runs for some of my favorite characters and stuff like that. But so I'm actually completely out of the loop with like a lot of the older Marvel and DC stuff where people are like, oh, remember that one time like back in the 80s? I'm like, no, I don't actually.
Man.
Sounds cool though.
Yeah, like I wish I knew all that DC stuff, but like I just can't afford to collect both. Like I really wish I could.
Yeah,
that's just one of those money factors, eh?
It's another thing too. Is it's kind of expensive to read like say 3 Marvel titles and 3 DC titles, and if you're like me, then you also read indie stuff too. So that's like a lot of money you're spending at the comic book shop on a regular basis. Even when I'd pick up comics like every other week, I'd still drop about like $50 on Marvel, DC, and whatever indie stuff I was reading, which that adds up pretty quick.
Oh gosh, yeah, man. Like I've been trying to focus on just buying like older volumes, and normally the shops like after a couple of months they'll go on discount and stuff. So that's what I've actually been kind of living off, is these old like slightly older volumes, paperbacks. And the only new comics I have been buying has only been Infamous Iron Man. Just because of just money. Yeah, it's just so much.
Yeah, so like I'm actually envious of the people where they go to the comic book shop like every Wednesday and they're picking up like all their favorite Marvel, DC, and whatever else they're reading. It's just kind of like either you have a very steady job or your parents are just kind of like, here kid, spend here's a blank check, spend as much as you want. Either way, like man, that is you lucky human being.
Yeah, I don't understand how that happens. Like I don't know how you can keep up with all the characters and all the stories and all that. It's just like money wise, definitely not.
But I mean, I don't know. I feel like even if I did have like the excess money to where I could like buy all the comics that I want, that I don't know if I would have the time to read all of it in like a week's time. So it's the constant like struggle of comic readers, is either we don't have the money or we don't have the time, and so. But so that's like what are your favorite like comic book storylines from either Marvel or DC, or even indie stuff? I don't know if you've read a whole lot of independent comics.
Sadly I haven't read any. I think I owned one for a while, but I bought it for a gift for one of those like Christmas games, and the girl I gave it to really did enjoy it. What I got her, I can't remember what that was again, sadly, but Sorry, what was the question again? Greatest comic storylines. So I've got to be cheesy and say Dark Knight Returns was one of my favorites.
It's a DC. Classic, man.
Yeah. So good, man. That line at the end. I was just watching YouTube today a little clip about they had that CIA agent, like Zack Snyder brought him onto stage, and this was in 2013 before BVS was even announced.
Yeah.
And had him read that quote right at the end, like hand at your throat, and I'm the one man who beat you, and then the big symbol comes up, and it's just like things like that. It's just all the elements from that comic is just amazing, and so glad they had a lot of it in BVS. Like I do quite enjoy that film. I can admit that. It's just really good. Other storylines would be like Doom War from Marvel is probably that's what really sold me on Doom. Like, I had a Winter Soldier story where there was they were fighting a gorilla. I don't even know the gorilla's name or something. He was just a bad gorilla with guns or something, and he was with Black Widow, and then there was a Doom bot, and it was kind of like a joke, and like even at the time I was like, well, this is quite silly. I didn't know how I'd ever respect Doom at all, but then and then got Doom War, and then he was kind of in the background to start with, and he was just moving his chess pieces the right way, and then he spoke to the Panther God, and the only way to survive a visit with him is you've got to have purity of heart of what you're doing. And even though he was there to steal the vibranium, he was pure of heart of trying to save the world with it. Yeah. And it was that. So I was like, wow, I didn't expect that at all in the story. I just expected Doom to be evil and for Black Panther to defeat him. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, this huge storyline. It's just a random buy, and it was amazing. Easily my favorite comic. Yeah,
and that's why I've loved Doom so much. Is like even though he's technically a villain, but it's like he's like when you understand his backstory, like you're kind of like, okay, I can kind of get behind him. Like you're not like obviously like I don't condone the actions that he does, but it's like he at least has good intentions. And again, same thing with Magneto. It's like they have their own warped sense of like justice and stuff like that. Of like here's what needs to be done for the greater good, and it's like. Okay, I can see where you're coming from. They aren't just like a bad guy for like, haha, I'm gonna rule the world because I'm evil. Because then those are the villains where I'm like, yeah, whatever, you're dumb because you don't really have like I don't know, they're just not as compelling as someone like Doom, where it's like he has a tragic backstory, and he's just a fascinating character in of himself. So like I don't know, and sometimes I'm kind of like, you know what, Doom, you take over the world, like. Sure, there'll be there'll be bad things that happens, but maybe it'll work out. I don't know. That's something I'd like to see. If it's an Elseworld story, great. So yeah, characters like Doom. That's always one of those things where I'm kind of like, yeah, I could get behind that guy. Or reading about him. If he was a real person, then no, definitely not. Just to clarify for the viewers.
Yeah, man, it's like with Magneto in the films, for example, like he's just my favorite X-Men character, just because he's just so compelling with what he's doing. And that was like Age of Apocalypse wasn't the greatest film, or in my opinion, maybe, but like with him and that family that he had, and that was so emotional when the police came to take him away, and it was just everything about that was like, wow.
Yeah, that was the one really good scene in that movie, because I was not a big fan of it, but that was one of those scenes where I'm like, okay, that's really. Again, it's very emotional because, like, Magneto, he's kind of like, I'll kind of lay low. I'll start a new family, and again, things were going great. He seemed pretty content with it, and then, of course, things go wrong. His family dies in front of his eyes, and then he goes back to his good old Magneto self. It's kind of like, oh, I'm gonna kill you all.
And pretty terrifying, especially when he was powered up. Yeah, by Apocalypse, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those things where you're kind of. Maybe it's subconsciously you're kind of rooting for him because you're like, oh, you watch your family die. Yeah, okay, you can blow up a few buildings. That's fine, I guess.
Yeah, man. No, definitely. What was it? Other villain? Yeah, no, amazing. I've only read a little bit about him with the Axis storyline in Marvel, and that was pretty brilliant. How they Red Skull had a camp on. One of the old, was it Genosha or something island? I think it was like that. And like how he was running around there trying to save all the mutants that were already being captured previous to this event, and it was just running around, just doing what he felt was right, and it was just incredible. I really wish I could have bought all his single volumes. I think I only got one. He was a real major character as well in the Axis storyline. So I believe he got inverted, and he was good, and it was Was he? Yeah, he was, and it was amazing to see like him and Doom. I think Doom was inverted as well, and they're all together and doing what they felt was right, which for a change was good.
That's a team up I would like to see. Like kind of like imagine like a buddy cop movie, or I guess comic with like Magneto and Doom. Like I'd be even fine if like they took it as like basically a buddy cop like series where it's kind of wacky and kooky, but just to like see kind of these two characters like interact with each other, I think that'd be fun. It doesn't have to be canon. Like it just be like a fun like little mini series where they're going on like a road trip. Magneto's just levitating their car. Like it doesn't even need gas. He can just levitate it. And
yes. Oh, that'd be great.
See, Marvel, if you're listening, here you go. You just got a free idea. But I would also like to get paid for the idea. But you know, it's free too if you don't want to pay me. But I'd like to get paid. Just saying.
That would be incredible.
I don't know how many other people would like that idea, but it's out there. So what are some of your favorites, like comic book TV shows and movies throughout the years, or even some of the more recent ones?
Okay, so like TV shows, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was one which was had definitely had a rocky start as well. And but everyone was telling me like, you know, just get through that first like half season, and then once you're invested in those characters, and then the story with Hydra and everything just really takes off. And even with the Inhumans, that goes for about 2 whole seasons. It's just Inhumans, and it does get a bit dull by the end. But no, I've been invested the whole way, and I'm just currently waiting for the Winter Olympics to be over so I can continue watching it. I had to pause it while it's going on right now.
Yeah, because I know when I started watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like I kind of just kept putting it off because like I heard it was good, but like that's not exactly the best thing to like motivate you to start a new show, especially when there's like 20-something episodes in a season. People are like, you just got to get past the first like 10 hours, and you're kind of like, 10 hours is a lot of time to invest.
Exactly, man.
But so I eventually caved in and. So yeah, like after like pretty much once it gets into like the events dealing with like the Winter Soldier, like that storyline and like Hydra, it actually did get pretty good. I'm like, okay, this is actually stepping up, and I'm liking it so far. But yeah, it was one of those things where I'm kind of like, really, I have to invest 10 hours before the show could possibly get good. Ugh, man.
Yeah. Oh, but as well with the tie-in with the movies as well, just made it epic. And that Hydra thing, like with the whole Winter Soldier, because that flips the whole MCU on its head, kind of in a way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. was in power before that, and then it's just all they're gone. It's just done.
And it was
incredible. And
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, that was it.
But I don't know. It was also kind of cool, like just seeing like an episode of like kind of behind the scenes. Like there's one either in season 1 or 2. Where I think it was like the aftermath of Thor, the Dark World, where they're in London trying to clean up, and I'm like, that makes sense that like they would have to go clean up the mess of like all these events that happen where they like destroy buildings or get in a big epic battle with another hero or villain. Because again, in the movies, it's kind of like, the hero saved the day, and they don't really focus, or up until Civil War, they don't focus on like the collateral damage. So it's kind of like, that makes sense. Like you would need like a government agency to kind of be like, well, downtown New York's destroyed again. Let's go clean it up.
Exactly, man. You got to look out for the alien tech lying around.
Yeah, and again, like
back on the loose.
Yeah, like S.H.I.E.L.D. has to like confiscate like all the alien tech, and I assume cover it up and be like, no, you didn't see 2 superpowered people fighting. It was street performers. It was a clown and a mime going at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, sure, why not? So what about...
sorry, I lost you on that bit. Well, sorry, can you repeat that?
No, I was just saying that, like, I don't know, like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that are trying to cover up, like, events or, like, 2 characters fighting it out in the streets or something like that. But are there any other the comic book shows that you've really been liking? Like, cause I've liked the Netflix shows for the most part, like especially Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up as well. Actually, no, I'm rewatching the first season of Daredevil right now. Like, it's just so good. Like, even the Defenders, I was completely hyped, and even with that little timer that was on Netflix, I was just counting it, just waiting for it to be released.
Oh yeah,
couldn't wait.
Like that show was
outstanding.
It was
a shame short. Hey, it was like 6 or 8 episodes. No, it wasn't 6 episodes, but about 8 episodes, I think. And it was kind of short, but it was like, oh well, it was still, the whole story was tied up, and no, I loved it. Yeah,
so I actually, in a way, kind of prefer when shows are a little bit shorter, especially in the case of Because even though I like the first couple seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the first 2 seasons of Arrow and, I think the first 2 seasons of Flash
Arrow
I've
as
seen.
well, that's another big investment, yes, of course.
Like, I like those shows, but I feel like they don't need 20-plus episodes. Like, if they just cut it down to, like, 10, maybe 12 tops, they can streamline the story. They don't have to worry about, like, filler, because there is a lot of filler in those episodes, in those seasons, and, some of the filler episodes aren't bad, but then other times I'm like, ugh, I don't care. Where it's like,
No, exactly, man.
Agent Coulson is in a sandwich shop, and he's ordering a sandwich. It's kind of like, I don't need to know what kind of cold cut sandwich he likes for lunch. This is not important. I don't care. And so that's actually one thing that I like about the Netflix shows for the most part is they're a lot shorter. Although there are still moments in like Luke Cage where like the first half I thought was good, and then the second half I didn't care for that much, and I'm like, they should have just kept this as like 8 episodes. And even parts of season 2 of Daredevil, like there were moments where I'm like, you probably could have cut that and just cut it down to like, again, 10 episodes, and I think it would have been a much stronger season. But that's just me kind of being nitpicky more so than anything.
I do kind of agree with you, Jake. Like, thinking back on it, like, I did love season 2 of Daredevil, but now you're saying it, I'm like, oh, no, yeah, there definitely was a bit too much filler. Like, they should have just cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
And same with, like, Arrow, for example. Season 3, I think I've just got up to season 4, and it's after the first 2 seasons have been so epic, it's like, it's good, but it's not as good. And then when there's all this filler mixed with kind of, in my opinion, again, not averageness is probably the wrong word, but like trying to get through all that's quite hard. So I actually think I haven't really picked up Arrow again, but I got somewhere in season 4. But I've heard season 5 is really good, so it's again another 10 hours investment to get past it.
Yeah, that's
get up to the good season.
That's the thing is because I like the first 2 seasons well enough. Season 3 and 4, I was just like, ugh. There were times where I was watching and I'm like, why am I putting myself through this? And I've heard season 5 is actually really good, but I'm kind of like, maybe one day I'll get back to the Arrow, but right now I need some time to heal, because it was just
I completely agree with you.
Because it was just a slog, and Green Arrow was also my favorite DC character, so like the show is nowhere near accurate to the character. So and I think that's what frustrating me the most is watching the show, and I'm like, This isn't Oliver Queen. This isn't Green Arrow. What are you doing? Quit trying to make him Batman. I like Batman.
Like Batman. I think even the actor himself has admitted it, saying they've taken a lot of elements from Batman. They're even having Ra's al Ghul in the 3rd season.
It's like moments like that. I'm like, quit trying to make him Batman. Green Arrow is a perfectly fine character. Stop it. I think that's the thing that like irks me the most about Arrow is there'll be moments where I'm like, all right, cool. They're actually, it looks like someone read a Green Arrow comic. We're like, actually, Green Arrow and Oliver Queen are more like this. And then it's like there'll be like a couple episodes of that where I'm like, okay, cool, they're getting back on track. And then it's like, Killer Croc shows up. It's like, no, that's another Batman villain. What are you doing?
Oh, no, exactly, man. Oh, but yeah, one day make that investment, get up to season 5. One day, definitely.
Yeah, that's the thing though, because again, even shows that I like, if they're like an hour long, 20 episodes, that's 20 something hours to invest in something, and
exactly.
When you have like a full-time job and like a social life and just other things going on in life, you can't just like sit down on the couch and binge watch 20 hours worth of shows. Sadly. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it is more sad being able to binge watch 20 hours worth of a TV show. I don't know. It's open to debate.
It's not so bad. I think I sprained my ankle actually when I watched Daredevil, because again, that was, it was a small show, but it was still like 50-something minutes an episode, so I kind of put it off for ages. Sprained the ankle off work, so I'm at home, and I'm like, what's on? I'm like, 2 seasons of Daredevil, let's see if it's alright, and then power through almost the whole thing.
See, at first I was going to ask, when you said you sprained your ankle watching Daredevil, I'm like, were you trying to do the hallway scene? Because that'd actually be pretty badass.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that scene, that was just incredible. I can't believe it was all in one take, It was just amazing, couldn't believe it.
Like, that's what I've loved so much about Daredevil is the amazing choreography. And some of the choreography in the fight scenes are, like, better than what I've seen in big-budget action movies. And again, especially that hallway scene. Because again, that was all one take, and the fact that like it felt realistic. Like he's like out of breath and trying to fight the other guys while being just completely exhausted. Then of course in season 2 that amazing stairwell scene where he's just like climbing down the stairway with that chain. I was just like, oh my god, you topped the hallway scene. This is amazing.
No, exactly, man. Didn't really give much room for Iron Fist to breathe. Having all that Daredevil within us, and then we're like, oh. Nah. But I still quite enjoyed it, but yeah, there's a lot of hate on it about its fight scenes and all that.
Yeah, like that was one thing where I was kind of like, so Iron Fist should have like the best choreography because he's like a martial arts master, and there were some cool moments, especially with what's her name, Colleen Wing. Like I thought her scenes were really good.
Was that the drunken monkey guy as well? That style stuff?
That scene was great, but Colleen Wing was.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
No. Colleen Wing is the character. I think. Yeah. The chick with the katana.
Female, yeah.
Yeah. So I like all of her scenes. But yeah, then there were some scenes with like Danny fighting people, and I'm kind of like, this looks really. This is lame. Like he's barely even using his Iron Fist. But again, that's I think that was more the showrunner's issue because I think he actually got moved to Inhumans, which that turned out well. So like I think it's one of those things where like he was working on it for a while and then they're like, hey, go do Inhumans and something will happen to Iron Fists. Because it seemed like no one really knew the identity of that show. But even the scene in Defenders, like where all four of them first meet up and have that big fight scene, I thought that was really great.
Oh yes, that was really good. Bloody hell, that was amazing. Like a little mini hallway scene. The way like it was in the trailer as well, and then Danny like jumps off the wall to do that final punch, and so all of them, like three or four of them, have all just punched a bad guy in a row, and it was just like, whoa.
Yeah, so those are the scenes where I'm like, okay, yes, that's how Iron Fist should be, not Iron Fist in season 1, but like that's how he should be. And again, it was just great seeing like the 4 street level Avengers more or less like all team up and kind of be like, who are you? I don't know, but let's fight these guys. And you're kind of like, yay, defeat the Hand.
Yeah. Well, they did drop. I was quite surprised there because they seemed like real. Like you couldn't take them down at all, like from Daredevil. Like that's how they seemed, and then they dropped pretty fast in the Defenders. It's quite impressed.
Like I did like Defenders, but I do feel like the villains were a little weak. And again, like there was another thing is the Hand kind of went down pretty quick and easy overall. So hopefully with like Defenders season 2, whenever that happens, they'll up the stakes because again they were kind of like, oh, all of New York and possibly the world is at stake. Not at one point was I like, oh man, New York might actually they might destroy it or something. I was like, maybe a building they might blow up. That's about it.
Yeah, they're just trying to excavate just down below. They're not going to blow up the whole place. Like,
yeah. I don't know. That was also kind of weird too. Even though, admittedly, it was very comic booky. Where it's kind of like, yeah, we're trying to drink the fossil fuels or the blood of dragons, or whatever it was. But I don't know. Sometimes things from comic books don't always translate to live action. So that was one of those things from like, so dragon blood, huh? That's what gives them their immortality? I don't buy it. Which is weird.
I only bought that thing because I think dragons were introduced in Iron Fist. How he plunged his fist into a...
Which we didn't even get to see the dragon. That really bummed me out.
Right? That would have been so cool.
Yeah, that could have been the one scene where I'm kind of like, okay, the show wasn't that great, but the dragon, yes!
Yeah. Couldn't believe it. I just wanted to see him just doing all that stuff, and then it's like, oh, bugger. Oh, well.
I think also kind of set my expectations a little high because I had read the Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker run on Iron Fist a little bit before I watched the show. Which is really good. So I was kind of like, oh, if they can just do this storyline, Iron Fist is going to be amazing. And I think from one of the trailers, I'm like, okay, I kind of got a feel for that Ed Brubaker Matt Fraction run. So for whatever reason, I was convinced. I'm like, they're definitely using this storyline as season 1. No, not the case at all. And so I was just kind of like, what are they doing in this show? What is going on?
I don't think they really knew what they were doing, but at least they tried. But yeah, a bit of a shame.
But season 2 will hopefully someone will step in and kind of be like, all right, I got this, and we'll really step it up. But Jessica Jones actually, I think, is coming out next month, if I'm not
Oh, is it
mistaken.
next month? Awesome.
What were your
Awesome,
thoughts on
yeah.
Jessica Jones?
Oh, that one was a tough one. I think I got halfway, so like 6 episodes in, and then I don't know if I got busy or the show got too dark or I don't know what happened there, but yeah, I just stopped watching it after a little while, and then like months later I just came back and I was like, oh, okay, what's happened? So I rewatched a couple of episodes and then finished it off, but it took me a good while. I only really finished it off not long before The Defenders came out. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it did take me quite a while. Yeah. But that one it was quite dark. I was quite surprised
Yeah,
how dark that show got.
I liked it though because it didn't hold any punches. No pun intended. Like it kind of went full blown like psychological thriller and kind of dealt with basically post traumatic stress that Jessica Jones was going through after her experience. So actually, like in my opinion, I think it's about on par with season 1 of Daredevil. I might prefer Daredevil a little bit more, but I think like quality wise, they're pretty much on par with each other.
I would agree. Yeah.
So hopefully season 2 of Jessica Jones, they keep it going strong. Which from the trailer, I was like, okay, this looks pretty solid. And then I think season 3 of Daredevil comes out later this year too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, no way, man. So what was the bad guy from Jessica Jones as well? Do you reckon that's a flashback, or do you reckon he's back from the dead? What do you reckon?
Ooh, see, I'm leaning more towards it's like either a flashback or it's like all in her head, like it's part of the kind of post-traumatic stress she's going through. But I think I'm not entirely opposed to him coming back, but a lot of that's just because David Tennant is an amazing actor, and so I'm kind of like the more David Tennant, the better. So I could go either way. What about you?
I'm thinking it will just be a flashback. I mean, I'm just trying to keep my hopes low. So if he does come back for some reason, I'll be like, oh, more of this tension stuff's back, and it's him trying to be a bit of a hero a little bit, like see how it goes, and yeah, really hoping that they go for that way. But I mean, if it's a flashback, I understand because he's died. But it is a comic book related show, so anything could happen, eh?
Yeah, and again, like if in Defenders they can like drink the blood of dragons and become immortal, it's like sure, some guy who got his neck snapped can come back to life. Why not?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I've seen way worse. And Electra had like a bloody big old stab wound, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's based on comics, and pretty much every comic book character has died and somehow come back through some weird convoluted thing where it's kind of like, oh, they weren't really dead. They were in like a super coma. It's like, what's a super coma? It's like, well, it's this very super scientific thing where you're basically dead, but you're not actually dead. It's like, that doesn't seem real. It's like comics.
Yeah. Gosh, ever since Superman's big famous death with Doomsday, I think deaths with superheroes has been a big topic, eh? It's been crazy how many people they killed off and just bring back. It's like, I suppose it works for marketing and all that, because like, oh, this could be the end of my favourite character.
Yeah.
But then they're back anyways. It's like, oh, but they keep sucking us in. I don't know why it happens.
Well, I think it's like, I feel like now it's more of like, okay, how are they going to kill him off now? More so than like the shock value of like, oh my god, they're killing off so-and-so? Because it's like, at this point we know that they're going to come back at some point. So it's more of like, okay, how are they going to get killed in quotation marks off? And then how are they going to come back, and how long will it take them to come back? 'Cause I think like when, who was it that died? Was it? Yeah, like when Captain America died after Civil War, I feel like it didn't take all that long for him to come back to life. So it's kind of like, yeah, they're dead, and then they'll be back in like 3 months, and it's kind of like, guys, good news, I'm not actually dead. I'm not actually going to explain how I wasn't dead. Who cares? It's kind of like, okay, cool.
Complicated.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's fine, we don't need to know anyways. Let's just move on and fight Thanos. It's like, great!
Oh, jeez. Yeah, man, so... when any character dies, especially was it Civil War 2, there was 2 major deaths, and I was like, they'll be back. They'll be back. I'm not too fussed.
Yeah, no, like I wouldn't be surprised if they come back. If they haven't already come back, probably in the next couple of months they'll be back.
True. You mentioned there was all those comics at the moment, the Legacy comics. Maybe they are already back, to be honest. So I think even Logan's come back as well, because he was was he stuck in adamantium, liquid adamantium, frozen solid like in that
Yeah,
cave
that's
thing.
right.
I'm pretty sure he's already come back somehow.
Yeah. So yeah, well done, Marvel. You killed them off, but not really. And again, same thing with DC. But I feel like Marvel here lately have been really bad at it, where it's kind of like, so-and-so's dead. It's like, when are they coming back? It's like 2 months from now for a big event. You just did another event like 2 weeks ago. It's like, I know, but this one's even bigger, and it's more eventier.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think I've been following all their events, like, been buying them obviously, like I was saying, like old paperbacks, so I won't buy them at full price. But I will slowly collect them, and there's been like one solid event every year, and it's just incredible. Like, because I thought that originally these were spaced out more over a long period of time, but I can't believe it was pretty much one a year since 2008, I think.
Yeah, and again, like I don't mind like comic book events, but you get like you have to like space them in a good amount of time in between each other. Otherwise, it's kind of the novelty wears off, where it's like, oh man, I gotta read this event, because that's what made the first Civil War so important. Is you're kind of like, what? And they're fighting each other? Oh my god, this is crazy. Or like, Infinite Crisis, the first time that happened, you're kind of like, whoa, they gotta like fight to save their universe? That's amazing. But now it's like, every now and then like there'll be a good event that gets people excited, but I don't know, like, because that was one of the reasons why I stopped reading Marvel a while back, is because it just seemed like, I'd pick up like the individual stories, and then it's kind of like, oh, 2 weeks from now, a new event. And I'm like, well, I haven't even gotten used to this character in their solo story yet. So that just got a little aggravating, where it's just kind of like, okay, we'll give you like 5 issues of this character doing their solo thing, but then they're gonna team up with the rest of the gang and fight something or do something, and it's like, just let me read like a good like year or like 2 years of this character in their solo adventures before you team up with something.
No, exactly, man. There's also, I was watching YouTube about it as well, and people were talking about how the writers sometimes, like with the major tie-in events and the solo stories, like sometimes the writers don't quite connect the character. Like they'll have a character, but it's almost from like the past. So if you are reading up your favorite character and then there's a tie-in, then they're not the same. And it's just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's like,
And also, like, certain writers will write characters differently. So, like, you might have one writer doing the solo series, but then in some kind of team-up or tie-in, you'll have a completely different writer writing for this character, like, Thor, for example. Which, in my opinion, like, Jason Aaron has done a fantastic job with Thor. But, like, say someone else did Thor in a tie-in, like, that version of Thor could feel completely different from, like, the way Jason Aaron has written the character, so it almost feels like a completely different character, which again is a little off-putting when you're reading a really good story of this character, and then in the tie-in you're like, well, that doesn't seem like something they would do, or that seems like a completely different character. But I digress, because I think I've ranted about this numerous times, and it's. I'm basically a broken record with all the events, where I'm just like, just stop it for like 5 years, no events, 5 years, and then do an
I'd
event.
appreciate a 5-year gap. Yeah, it'd be nice.
If you had your choice, like if Marvel or DC showed up at your door and were like, Doominati, you get a character of your choice to write for, what character would you write for?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh. I definitely have to say Marvel, just because I'm more familiar with their whole previous history and all that. Oh, right, writing for Doom would be quite cheesy, wouldn't it?
That'd be perfect. Doominati running for Doom.
Right. Well, I'll get him and Magneto. They'll go on a road trip, and this will be canon. So
yes, you've got my money.
Yeah, that or possibly even Iron Man a bit, because I feel like he's changed quite a lot since since the not Rebirth, the Marvel Rebirth. Well, I should be familiar with that. Secret Wars, Secret Wars. Mm-hmm. Is that what you call it? Yeah. Like, I feel like he's changed almost too much. Mm-hmm. And I want his armor to be bulkier, so that'll be the first change. Is what I'll do. I'll just make his armor a bit bulkier, make it look a bit more solid. And because I've collected most of Iron Man post Secret Wars, and it's just it feels a little bit off compared to how it was prior. Mm-hmm. So I'd be kind of pushing more for that. That would be what I'd do.
Cool.
kind of because that was also a little bit post the Access event, and he was inverted even after the event. So like we had that white symbiote type suit.
Okay, yeah.
I kind of liked that. That was ended quite short, but I did enjoy it while I was there.
Right.
Yeah, that would be me. But yeah, definitely get a road trip with Doom and Magneto, and that'd just be incredible. I think. Hey, like solid 10 issues, or maybe 5. Oh, see how the story goes, you know. See how the story goes.
So again, Marvel, if you're listening, hire this man to write it, and I will give you all the money, which admittedly is not much that I have, but I'll give you what money I have and buy every issue that comes out.
Yeah, because I feel like they need to branch out and just do odd stories like that. Just kind of like how they had Old Man Logan just in the future doing his own thing. I mean, it was the apocalypse era, like with everything was gone with the odd hero here and there, but still, just having a random canon road trip would be pretty funny, even with bad guys. So it'd be something different, and I'm sure they would sell it.
And, you know, actually, I think there's a bit more precedent for that because Marvel have started doing like the 2-in-1 thing. Because I know, I think the Thing and Human Torch have I don't know if it's a limited series. Right. So yeah, there's actually like some precedent for this, Marvel, if you're listening.
Yeah, man. Jeez, and I'm a bit worried about that too because I saw on the cover for it. It looks like Doom's back to being evil, and I'm like, well, from what I've been reading, he shouldn't be evil yet. So is this like an alternate universe Doom, or what's going on here? I'm like, I'm not ready for him to be bad just yet. Like he's only been good for a year.
Yeah, and I think.
Yeah, I can't let it go a bit longer. Yeah, a little bit longer.
I'm sure it'll be like one of them's a Doombot or something like that. Which I guess that could still work because again, anytime in the comics where the Fantastic Four or whoever is fighting Doom, they're like, "Haha, we finally beat him," and then it's like, "Nope, Doombot," and they're like, "Son of a bitch!" Again with these Doombots.
Oh, they're everywhere. It's incredible. Oh, so good. Just love Doom.
Yeah, because again, he's pretty much a step ahead of everybody. He's just kind of like, haha, another Doombot. Gotcha, suckers.
Yeah, man. No, it's so good. But yeah, can't wait. Yeah, because Reed Richards and Sue have been away since Secret Wars, so is that a year or two? I can't remember. They've been away for ages. Don't know what they're out like repairing the multiverse, I believe, from the end of Secret Wars. But yeah, it's been so long. I can't believe they haven't come back. Oh, actually, now I think about it, it was because of the rights with Fox and all that. Having Fantastic Four, and then the last movie that they released, that was why they've done it. And it's like, oh, come on, I just want my comics back.
So,
you know.
So, let me get your thoughts on the whole Marvel Fox deal. Are you for this, or are you kind of a bit more apprehensive?
Oh, that's right, the Fox deal to get the rights back. Yeah, that's a tricky one there because I kind of want Fox to continue doing their own X-Men thing. Like, I think I agree. Get the rights to the Fantastic Four back and all their villains, and that would be incredible. But yeah, it would be a bit weird if the X-Men come over. I guess they could post Infinity War for the movies because I guess after that we're going to lose our main heroes from like Phase 1, so it would be a big void you'd probably want to fill up for the next 10 years or less. I don't know. But it's good having these separate universes because it gives a bit of freedom, a bit of, because we've got all these canon stories all together, and then you go, oh, cool, but there's also these other stories that are all linked, and you're like, oh, cool, I don't have to worry about, if I missed one, well, I haven't missed one, but it's good having their own little side stories.
And, for me personally, like, the Fox movies haven't, they've kind of been, hit or miss for me personally, but... I like the fact that they've taken chances on movies like Deadpool and Logan, whereas Disney, I guarantee, would not have done that because they're like, it's pushing boundaries a little too much, and which I understand because Disney are a bit more family oriented, but at the same time, it's like, but you also have to appeal to different demographics, and Deadpool and Logan appeal to other demographics than your kind of family friendly audience, and both of those are highly regarded and made a crap ton of money because they are just really good stories. The rating really, that again, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, Hollywood's going to catch on the whole all-rated comic book craze. It's like, well, no, that's not why they made money. It's because they were just good stories, and the R rating just lent to a greater storytelling, because Logan wouldn't have been as impactful if it was PG-13. Same thing with Deadpool.
Oh gosh, no, man. No.
Because that's the Wolverine I've always wanted to see. Because Wolverine is a very, especially like old school Wolverine from the comics, he's short, hairy, and vicious, and just wants to like slice everything up. So the fact that we actually got to see him like chopping arms and heads off, I was just like, yes! Because in like the animated series, he was always fighting robots, and in the movies he would cut people, but it was PG-13, so like no real blood or violence.
You didn't see any of all that. Yeah, exactly, man. So that's what we would get if Wolverine was moved over to the MCU. It would be all that type of stuff, I feel.
Yeah, and even though Kevin Feige said it's like, yeah, we might do R-rated movies, it's like, well, you say that, but ultimately it comes down to Disney. And I don't know if Disney will be willing to do that. So that's kind of like the apprehension where I have with this whole deal is, and even with even if they did allow it, it's kind of like, okay, so are they going to continue with the Deadpool, at least do one more Deadpool movie, finish out that trilogy, because obviously Deadpool 2 is still going to happen, X-Force, or I don't know if X-Force might happen, because we still have another 12 to 18 months before this deal is finalized. So all the Fox movies that are still in production are still going to happen regardless of whether Marvel wants it or not, because Fox are still an independent studio. But some of the other movies that Fox have said they might want to do, an X-23 spin-off, or I think there's a rumor of a Kitty Pryde movie and stuff like that. So those are the ones where I'm
interesting.
Yeah. So I'm okay, these are cool ideas, but unless they start rushing them into production, I don't think they would happen anytime soon. Especially if Disney does acquire.
And what's happening with that Gambit movie, anyways? That seems to be getting delayed and delayed and delayed. I don't think it's ever going to come out.
I don't think Gambit's happening. And even if Fox still want Gambit to happen, if this deal goes through Marvel, I guarantee Marvel are going to be no, Gambit's not happening. Because they've lost 3-4 directors, and it seems like Channing Tatum's the only one where it's kind of anytime he's in interviews, they're Gambit still happening? He's sure, maybe, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if even he didn't know. Maybe he calls the Fox studios, is Gambit still happening? And they're just ignore him, don't answer the phone. We'll just, we'll let him figure it out. But yeah, I don't think Gambit's happening. It's had too many problems so far, and again, it's lost 4 directors. Not a good sign.
No.
And even though Gambit,
he only lost one, I think, and that turned out alright. But yeah, had was it? Oh, I don't know. I don't forget his name. Is it Edgar Wright, the director?
Yeah.
That was that director from Hot Fuzz. Yeah, he would have been incredible. I love Hot Fuzz and all those films with Simon Pegg and all that. So it would have been interesting to see that as Ant-Man as well.
Edgar Wright, in my opinion, is one of the best working directors, because all of his movies, the Cornetto trilogy with Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, Scott Pilgrim, one of my all-time favorite movies, and then Baby Driver, which came out last year. All of those movies are exceptional. So it does kind of suck that he didn't get to direct Ant-Man, but I think Peyton Reed was a good choice. Because, again, he kind of came in last minute, and I think the movie turned out really well.
Oh, yeah, if he came in last minute, I did really enjoy it. Incredible. But I didn't know he was last minute. I thought there was still a bit of time for him to learn what was going on and everything.
Well, apparently, I think there's several months for him to prepare for everything. But in terms of because with movies, usually they'll announce they'll get a director involved. That's usually one of the first things they'll do. Once they have a script, they're okay, we've got the script, let's get a director, and then it's usually another 9 months to a year or so before they actually start filming anything. So I think they already had the script. They might have been doing some rewrites, and they might have been doing some pre-production, but then that's when Edgar Wright and Marvel Studios had their disagreement. He exited. But again, it was, from what I've understood, it was amicable, where basically both, it wasn't a shouting match between the two. They were kind of this isn't working out, so let's just, kind of part ways and agree to disagree, and hopefully we can work together sometime, in the future. And interestingly enough, Peyton Reed actually was supposed to direct the first Fantastic Four movie that came out in 2005. Yeah, 2005. And he actually pitched the idea as like it took place in the 60s and it was going to be just like the comics, where it's kind of cosmic and a little trippy, but Fox were like, dumb. And then they got, yeah. So I think in hindsight, it worked out for Peyton Reed because, he got to do Ant-Man. Apparently he's a big fan of Ant-Man. And he's also directing Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I think he's in a good position now to where he can like kind of move further up in the Marvel line, and if they do get Fantastic Four back, then he would be my choice because he clearly understands the characters and the lore and stuff like that.
Yeah, that should be the way to go. I do agree. So hopefully we get all that sorted soon. Hopefully, I'm well overdue for a Fantastic Four film, or a good one. Anyways, that last one, especially Doom as well. Like they kind of, that was just quite painful seeing Doom in that last one.
Yeah, and that's honestly what frustrates me the most, because I'm going to be honest, I like Doom more than I like the Fantastic Four as a team. So, like, in the first two Fantastic Four films, like, he at least looked like Doom, even though he actually...
Yeah, that is right. He looked good, man.
But, like, he had electrical powers, and I'm like, whatever, okay. That was a different era where, like, you couldn't be like, he's magic! Studios were like, yeah, no one's going to believe that. Even though, they couldn't suspend their disbelief that the Fantastic Four went into space and got superpowers. And then in the reboot, I don't even know what was going on in that movie. But yeah, that's one thing that pissed me off the most, is I'm kind of like, that's not Doom. It looks like a crash dummy, like one of those like car crash dummies, and C-3PO like
its face melted a bit.
Yeah, like they had like a love child, and one of them was on meth, and that's what the child turned out to be. And again, his powers are inconsistent. Like one scene he's like blowing people's heads up, and the next he's like levitating, and it was a mess.
It was.
I left that theater just being like, ugh, no, so bad.
It really was, man. Just fingers crossed we get a good one soon out of the MCU, or just out of Fox if the deal doesn't go through or whatever. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to a good Doom and a movie.
Yeah.
It'd be good post Infinity War. Like if he could somehow join them and be like the post Thanos bad guy, that would be incredible, I think.
Oh, especially like if he's like kind of the beginning villain, and then they lead up to like someone like Galactus. Oh my God!
Yeah.
That
would be that'd be incredible. Second arc to the whole second trilogy of phases.
Whatever they want to call it. But I think and it's not going to happen. But I think the greatest. What I think would make a great post-credit scene to, I guess, Avengers 4 is, after they defeat Thanos, whoever's left, they're kind of rejoicing. They're like, yay, we finally beat him! So I'm assuming they're probably going to be in space somewhere fighting Thanos. And, like, the last post-credit scene, they're still kind of like, yeah, celebrating. That's when Silver Surfer, like, surfs up, and he's just kind of like, oh, you guys think you won? There's a bigger threat coming. Then of course we comic book fans are gonna be like, oh my God, Galactus! Because in the comics, even when Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlets, he doesn't go near Galactus. He's like, hey man, you stay over there and do your thing, and I'll leave you alone, because he's insanely powerful. So that I think would make a great post-credit scene, kind of to the same extent as the post-credit scene in Avengers, where we see Thanos, where non-comic readers are like, who's that purple guy? But comic readers are like, whoa, Thanos! Oh my God! And just like lost their minds. Yeah. But again, it's not going to happen. But oh man, like the theater would lose their minds. Really
I think, that'd be a good way to fully end the MCU. I think is just have a big, like, even though Thanos and the Infinity Stones and everything, like this is huge, but just having it finish with Doom and Silver Surfer and Galactus. That would just be like, I think I'd be quite satisfied for it to fully end if that like did happen.
And both like Doom and Galactus would make great villains, not just for the Fantastic Four, but just great villains for the MCU, like the whole Avengers lineup. Because again, Doom has fought the Avengers, he's fought the Fantastic Four, he's fought just about everybody in the Marvel Universe. He even became God during the Secret Wars, so it's kind of like, he's a pretty big deal. And then of course Galactus, again, he's a pretty big deal because he eats planets. That's just what he does. So yeah, I think that would make a great lineup for like the first two major villains in this new phase, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, man. So yeah, let's hope they go that path. I hope.
But since we're going on about an hour, I say we start wrapping this up. So, are there anything, anything you got going on with Comics Amino, like blogs or anything you want to promote before we wrap this up?
Oh, yeah, just a quick shout out to the welcoming committee as well. We got Superman, the OG, She-Hulk, Barry Allen, and EX. I think EX hasn't been active for a little while. Hopefully he comes back. But yeah, that's been going good. We actually started that in July as well. So just want to say congrats on us for making it this long. That was incredible. Like I didn't believe it. I thought we were more like October or so we started. But no, I saw the original post saying that we were started, and that was it was July. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I feel like
it's been going this long.
I feel like me and you have entered in like a welcoming war, because it seems like every time like I comment on like a new user's wall, like you've always beat me to it. It's like every now and then, like when I'm the first one to comment, I'm like, yeah, I beat you, Doominati. And I remember like a couple of weeks ago, like check my phone, it's kind of like you have like 50 notifications. I'm like, what? And like half of them were like you liking like me, doing my usual thing. It's like, yeah, welcome to Comics Amino. I was just going, my God, the dedication on this man.
Oh, that was really funny. Yeah, man, I got really behind on those welcomes. That was easily a week of welcomes, and every time I saw your comment, I was like, oh, flick a like that way, and then it built up pretty fast.
Yeah. So, but again, it's a war I'm more than happy to participate in.
Oh, yeah.
And again, hopefully, again, with our welcoming, with your welcome committee, it does kind of inspire the new users to be a bit more active and feel more welcome. So, so keep up the good work.
It's been going good, and yeah, we'll do that, and I'll see you around the walls of other newer members.
Yes, and I'll try to continue beating you to welcoming the new users.
All right, challenge accepted.
And for those of you listening, feel free to participate as well. Anytime like you get a new follower, especially if they're like these new members that are like a day old or something like that, give them a nice warm welcome. Let them know what's going on in the community, which I know some of you are really good at. So just keep that up, so that way we can keep growing this community, keep people active, keep people coming back, and just having a fun time. But
well said, Jake.
Thank you. But as always, you all can continue to subscribe here on the YouTube channel. We're going to continue to upload content. Got some ideas for new content as well, which I'll keep you all posted once we kind of get more of an idea of how to implement them. And of course, there's the Comics Amino podcast, which I believe comes out every other Sunday, or at least records every other Sunday. So much appreciated for you fine people, always supporting us here with your likes and subscribes and all that stuff. We really appreciate it. And you all can also follow me on Twitter at IrishmanJake, same username. It's easier for me to remember and keep up with. You can also check out my own personal YouTube channel, Pasty Poe Productions, where I do movie reviews, host a couple of podcasts on there, and kind of just do whatever I feel like doing. So I'll leave links to all the social medias, to the Comics Amino social medias, like the Facebook, the Twitter, and all that stuff, so you can follow us there. And I think that wraps up this Comic Conversations with the fine gentleman here, Doominati. So until next time, everyone, cheers.